Hi everyone. So today's topic is state creation in Nigeria. Yeah, there was a time where states were being created in Nigeria. So we're going to look at the topics. Permit me to use my screen so that we'll have apt understanding of it. Now, before we proceed, what is a state? A state is referred to a politically organized community living under a government. That is to say, for a place to be termed as a state or regarded as a state, it needs to have a political entity, and also there should be a government structured to handle the affairs of that particular location. Now, what are the features of a state? What makes a state to be regarded as a state? One of the features of a state is government, meaning that there must be a standing government. There must be a set of rules and principles that people will be guided. A place cannot be regarded as a state if there is no central leadership. Another feature of a state is permanence. Yes, the word permanence. When you hear of something being permanent, it means that it is fixed. It is not movable. So for a place to be regarded as a state, it has to be permanent. Then the third features of a state is population. Population simply means the total number of people in a given location. You cannot regard a place as a state if there are no people living there. The fourth one is territory. For a state to be regarded as a territory, or it has to have a defined geographical location, meaning that a place has been carved out to avoid encroachment. That place is designated and meant for that state, meaning that at the end of the day, anybody within that border knows that they are standing within the shores of a particular state. How about sovereignty? Sovereignty is regarded as the ability of a state or a place to rule without external influence or interference. So for a state to be termed as one, it needs to have that firm power and grip. Then we have recognition. When you say recognition, it means that a place regarded as a state must be recognized either on the map or by other states. They know that this place is actually a state. Now, having looked at this, we now want to know, how was Nigeria before state creation? Now, Nigeria was divided into 4 regions before the creation of states in 1967. Initially, Nigeria was in regions. We have the northern region. On the map at the left hand side, when you look at it, you'll see that Nigeria had 4 regions. We had the northern region, the western region. In the middle between the western region and the eastern region, you have the mid-western region. And then lastly, we have the eastern region. Now, the mid-western region was created out of the western region. It was carved out of the western region. Reason was because there were a group of people who were factioned into the western region, but they felt marginalized. Those are the people we look at today in the present day Edo states and Delta states. Now, the first set of states that were created in Nigeria were 12 in number, and they were created on May 27th. We're going to look at the list of all the states that were created. The map is there, but it's actually tiny. So we'll look at the states and then we'll further see the map again. Now, in these states, we had Lagos, we had Western State, we had the Midwestern State, Eastern State, Northern State, Benue Plateau State, Kwara State, River State, Cross River State, North Central State, Northeastern States, and then lastly, the Northwestern States. So these were the 12 states that were created in Nigeria in the year 1967. So a quick look at the map, you would see where the states were created. So from the Northwestern States, the Benue Plateau State, northeastern states cover the areas that were regarded as the northern region previously before the creation of the state. Now, when you look at the Midwestern states, you look at the Western states and the likes, you find out that that is the area that covers both Western region and the Midwestern region. Then when you look at the Eastern states, you will see the likes of Rivers and the rest, Calabar, Port Harcourt, they fall under the Eastern states, or the Eastern region rather, that was previously created. Remember I said Nigeria was in 4 regions from 1963 to 1967. However, in 1967, 12 states were now created out of this region. Nigeria's first set of states were created on May 27, 1967, under the regime of General Yakubu Gowon. So it was during the military rule of General Yakubu Gowon that this first set of states were created. I hope this is interesting and we're eager to learn more. Now we have the list of governors of these 12 states. For Lagos State, we had Mobolaji Johnson, who was the governor at the creation of the state. For Western State, we had David Akpodi Ejo. For the Midwestern States, we had Albert Okonkwo. For Eastern States, we had Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu. Yes, the famous Ojukwu. He was the governor of the Eastern States. Then for the Northern States, we had Usman Farouk. For Benue Plateau State, we had Joseph Gomwok. Kwara State, we had David Bamigboye. River State, Alfred Deity Spiff. And then for Cross River State, we had Uduaka J. Esoni. For North Central State, we had Abba Habib. Northeastern State, we had Musa Usman. Northwestern State, we had Usman Kassina. So what were the reasons for the creation of these states? If you look at it, it has been listed out. We have administrative efficiency, we had regional autonomy, ethnic and cultural diversity, resources distribution, and political stability, historical or geographical factors. We also have population size, conflict resolution, democratic representation, cultural or linguistic affiliation, economic development, global or international influences. These were the reasons for the creation of states in 1967. Now, how would we look at efficiency, administrative efficiency? These states were created to help the running, because Nigeria was a very large area, and for you to have the different people included and then have an administration that was efficient enough, there was a need for the creation of these states, and that was why governors were put in charge to help the central government in the control. Regional autonomy. Each region had its peculiar resources and abilities. So the creation of this state helped to give each region the power to control, or certain limit of power to control, the affairs of the people. The third reason, ethnic and cultural diversity, concerns the fact that Nigeria is blessed with diverse cultures and ethnic groups. And for people to be able to coexist, there was a need to separate these different ethnic groups that had similar cultural diversity within one location and call them one, so that it would be easier for better understanding. How about resource distribution? Resources distribution concerned the fact that every area was endowed with their own unique and peculiar resources. Look at the likes of present-day Nasarawa State. It is the home of solid minerals. Now they had this. So those areas that had similarities, it was easy that this grouping or these states were created so that these resources that is in this area will be harnessed and used for the better good of the nation. We have political stability. When we say political stability, for a nation or a political entity to be regarded as stable, it means that there is a fine and firm grip of the political arena. So there was a need that people with like minds and similar culture and ethnic identity would be grouped together in one state to help them see themselves as one, and also to create a stable government. Historical or geographical factors. When we say historical or geographical factors, based on the nature of the terrain of the land and the nature at which migration or existence of certain people happened, there were similarities, things that made them see themselves as one. Now, in an area where you find people speaking similar tongue and they have similar traditions, it is only natural for you to see them as one. And that is why till date, people you find in a particular state have similarities in either their mode of dressing, the type of meals they eat, in fact, in some certain pronunciation of words when it comes to the traditional or their language. You find out that in the dialect, there are similarities. So that is the essence of historical or geographical factors. We have had population size. Population simply means the total number of people. So based on the size too, there was a need that you group people into one state. There were some ethnic groups that had few population and they couldn't stand on their own. So there was a need to group them and merge them with others who had similarities. Conflict resolution was another. How were these conflicts being able to be resolved? Because you had people with similar interests, people who shared the same ideologies and culture. It was easy for them to understand themselves. Imagine a northerner who have their own lifestyle living together or having to tolerate somebody else from a distant tradition where their own cultural beliefs is quite different. So it was very good that these states were created based on the cultural similarities between people. Democratic representation. Because of that, every group had representatives that consigned or were consigned of the interest of these people. Now, when you look at it this way, you understand that there is a need to represent these people or their group where they come from. If you see a group of nationalists that have been fairly represented, there is a form of nationalism that springs up in them because they don't feel marginalized or cheated. So that was part of the reason for state creation. We also have cultural or linguistic affiliation. I mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the conflict resolution. I chipped that in. Now, when you look at cultural or linguistic affiliation, people with similar type of culture, patterns of dressing, mode of eating, mode of greeting, and other things, it was easy, even the dialect, because there was close relationship, it was easy to group them together in one state. For economic development was necessary because different areas were blessed with their own distribution of wealth. And for this, for people to be able to enjoy this, there was a need that they are grouped so that they will work together for the common goal or good of their states. Finally, we have global or international influences. Gradually, because of an interaction, because of diplomatic relationships, there was a need. This consciousness of the people was already being awakened. So there was a need that these states be created as soon as possible because people were now woke. For everything that has a reason, definitely might have an effect. Some of these effects could either be positive or negative effects. Now, the first effect there was is the administrative decentralization. When we say administrative decentralization, state creation led to administrative decentralization by allowing more localized governance. This can result in improved efficiency in delivering public services and responding to the specific needs of diverse regions. The second one is a political representation. New states provide opportunities for better political representation. Citizens in the newly created states can have a more direct influence on decision-making processes, fostering a sense of local autonomy and participation. Then we have resource allocation. State creation had impact on the distribution of resources because each region had its significant natural resources. So each may gain control of their wealth, influence economic development, and help in reducing regional disparities. Okay, then we have cultural and ethnic dynamics. The creation of states often considers cultural and ethnic affiliations, meaning that it can either promote a sense of identity and unity, or in some cases, it can exacerbate tension if not handled carefully. So those are some of the effects. We'll now look at economic development. States may implement policies tailored to their unique economic needs, fostering regional development. However, challenges may arise if these resources are not evenly distributed amongst the newly created states. We also had infrastructure development. So the development of or establishment of states can stimulate infrastructure development such as each state will seek to improve its transportation, education, healthcare, and other essential services to enhance the quality of life for its citizens. It is still applicable. That is why till today you find out that in some states they have free medical care or services being rendered. In some states, you find that there are some means of transportation that have been made or brought about to make it easier. We'll look at political stability or unrest. The process of state creation can contribute to either political stability or unrest, depending on how it addresses historical grievances, power sharing arrangements, and the fair distribution of its resources. Border or territory issues. The creation of states may lead to disputes over borders and territories, especially if there are historical or ethnic complexities involved. Resolving such issues is crucial for maintaining stability in any state. Legal and judicial systems. The legal and judicial framework may be impacted, requiring adjustment to accommodate the new administrative divisions. This can include the establishment of state-level courts and legal structure. We also have social services and education. So state creation influences the provision of social services and education. States may have the flexibility to tailor policies to their specific educational and social developmental needs. That is to say, it depends on the nature of people, what suits the state. They have that right to be able to create or have those services. Now, finally, we'll look at demographic changes. When we say demographic changes, it simply means that state creation can lead to changes as people will migrate for various reasons. Some might migrate because there are better services in one other state than the other. It has provided economic opportunities, political stability, or even cultural affiliation. So it is prone to happen when state creation takes place. So at the end of the day, a quick run-up of some of these things we looked at. First of all, we saw the topic state creation in Nigeria. moved further to know the meaning of a state, what a state refers to, and then we looked at the features of a state. We said a state is a politically organized community living under a government. Now, the features of a state includes government, permanence, population, territory, sovereignty, and recognition. And we found out that before states were created in Nigeria, Nigeria was divided into 4 regions. We had the northern region, western region, midwestern region, and the eastern region. However, states were created first in Nigeria on May 27, 1967. And this was done under the administration of General Yakubu Gowon. And the list of the 12 states that were created in Nigeria in the year 1967 were Lagos, Western State, Midwestern State, Eastern State, Northern State, Benue Plateau State, Kwara State, River State, Cross River State, North Central State, Northeastern State, and the Northwestern States. We also looked at the list of governors who were in charge of these newly created states. We found out the reasons why states were created, and then finally we looked at the effects of state creation. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope it was helpful to you. Please don't forget to hit the like button. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you're new to this channel, subscribe please, and then don't forget to share the video. I'll see you in my next class. Please stay tuned.